Not because a lot of persons are not agreeing, saying that, oh, porn is nothing, it's not going to do anything to you, means that it actually isn't going to do something to you. Not because the majority says it means that it's right. What's good, everybody? It's your girl AmandaSpeaks. Welcome back to another episode of the Late Night Sessions with AS. What? My voice just said nope. We are on episode 3, I believe. I know we missed a weekend, but we are back with another episode coming off strong in the month of February. And I did promise y'all that this episode specifically, this episode gonna be hot. It gonna be humble, open, and transparent on a number of levels. I'm considering, I'll tell y'all off the bat, I'm considering doing a part 2. But if I'm doing a part 2, it will literally only be exclusive to on a certain platform. Let me just put that out there. So depending on how this one goes, depending on what I share, or if the Holy Spirit, leads me to do a part 2. If y'all want a part 2 as well, y'all can hit the like button and you can comment down below part 2 and I'll definitely, get into it. But before I continue, we didn't do our regular intro. I know it's Late Night Sessions with AS. However, if you're new here and you have not heard about AmandaSpeaks, you have not heard about Mandy Squad. Where you been? What's up? I don't know where you've been at, but we're so happy that you made it to this video, made it to this channel. And if you want to become a part of our family, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button right there and hit the bell button beside it so you don't miss any further videos. And without further ado, let's hop into this episode. I don't know if y'all can tell, but I'm a little bit excited because we got a new mic. We got a mic. So I actually don't have to feel like I'm shouting to the camera and like you guys can tell me that I'm low and stuff. I can talk in a little nice sweet voice because I know y'all can hear me regardless. But anywho, today's topic is the perception and the danger of pornography. So the first thing I'd say is pornography. There's already a possibility of addiction. I just want to put that out there from now, because I think before, like in my younger days and maybe for the older generation as well, growing up you'd hear, oh, pornography is bad and don't watch this or shut your eye for this, or you were just simply told, don't have sex before marriage. You were simply told you're not supposed to be watching this, or porn is bad and da 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 da. And sometimes persons wouldn't have gone in depth as to why it is bad and what are the dangers of it. Is it you just don't want me to see the images? What is it? And I also want to put this out, that not because in today's society, in today's culture, persons are saying that, oh, it's not that bad, it's not going to do anything to you. And sometimes it can be a way of gathering people, and it's just a different perspective. It's just a different mindset. It's a lie. And I don't just say that because I'm a believer, and you'll hear further on why. But not because a lot of persons are saying that it's good or it's not as bad doesn't mean that it's not bad. Not because a lot of persons are not agreeing, saying that, oh, porn is nothing, it's not going to do anything to you, means that it actually isn't going to do something to you. Not because the majority says it means that it's right. So let's get that straight. So the first thing of pornography is that there's a possibility of addiction. Now, while some psychologists, some psychiatrists, they might disagree to say whether pornography addiction is actually an addiction or a mental health issue because of the way that various persons might view it. But I will say there's a possibility of an addiction, of an actual addiction, and it having the same effect as like a drug addiction or a mental disorder. Watching porn and watching it often, watching it all the time, porn allows you to have a distortion or a perversion of sexuality, of relationship, of marriage, of sex in and of itself. Because when you start consuming a lot of porn, right, you are seeing and it depends on the type of porn that you watch, it depends on the intensity of the porn, it distorts how you see sex. Let's start there. because you're consuming something that is not real. Because I hope we do understand that porn isn't real. It is basically like watching a movie. You're seeing two actors perform certain things, certain roles, certain positions. And I'm not saying that those positions don't exist, don't get me wrong, but how it is being performed, it is not real. And sometimes because of the consumption of it, we think that, oh, this is how it's supposed to look, this is how it's supposed to feel, this is how it's supposed to be done. These are the reactions that you're supposed to get. And we bring those ideologies into real life. And when we don't get what we saw on the screen, one, we're disappointed. Two, it did not meet the expectations that we thought it would. So sometimes we would either feel deceived, or you feel like that's not the person for you because they're not meeting those unrealistic expectations. There's no adventure, there's no exploration of the other person. And I say it like that because I remember reading a thread, I believe, by Jackie Hill Perry. I think I'll probably insert it either at the end of this video or maybe right here. And then I'll hop into what I gotta say. But there's no adventure exploration of the person that you're with, because what you watched is not necessarily what the person wants or what the person needs or what the person is interested in doing, but you already having a set mindset that, oh, this is what you want and this is how it's supposed to feel and it's supposed to look. No longer is their body seen as something to explore, something to, ask, does this feel good? Do you like this? Does this turn you on? I know it's gonna sound very awkward coming from me, but bear with me. um, Especially to my older people watching, but bear with me, okay? But there's no adventure in it. And instead of you seeing your partner as somebody to do this sexual journey with, they now become the object of your pleasure, the object of what you desire, and not necessarily that we are trying to learn each other's body and learn each other's mind while we're engaging in this activity. So that's what I mean by it distorts sex in and of itself, and we feel like it is just an action. We feel as though it's just a task that is being done. And sometimes it takes away so much from the love that actually is within sex. It takes away the bonding, the binding to each other that actually is involved in sex. It can cause trust issues within relationship, within marriages, especially if the other person doesn't know that you're watching it. It can also be intimidating to your partner, whether male or female, because you're consuming something and then you want them to perform the very thing that you saw, or you want them to be this person, and they can feel as though they're not being as good as what you saw. So it also creates almost like a low self-esteem type of feeling for them. While I was reading, it did say that the consumption of pornography also gives way to persons performing more risky sexual activities or initiating sex early. No, this is when people say, oh, I have to test the waters before, or I have to test drive the car before I buy. Not in this case, sweetheart. Because here's the thing, you test drive and you do all of that. You decide to settle with somebody, and then while you're doing it with that person, you're comparing them to like the three other persons you had, and I said, oh, but this one was better, or this one knew how to do this, and this one knew how to do that. I'll also say that it perverts sexuality. A lot of persons think it's weird to still be a virgin. A lot of person be like, so you've never had any experience, it doesn't even have to be like penetration or stuff like that. You've never tried like oral, you never tried like anal, you never like no form of any experience. How you gonna know how to please your spouse? How you gonna know how to do this? Now listen, this is where faith comes in. If you are a virgin, a part of your experience or a part of your faith, when it comes to sex, is believing that the Lord already knows what you want and what you need and what would already pleasure you, because he's the one that created you, and what will also work for the other person. And you believe that he will join you together with the right person, that not only does he already know what you'll need, but he will also entrust you to the person to explore each other. I don't believe that you have to test something to know whether it is good for you if you are trusting in the God who created it and created you for it. It distorts just the idea of sexuality and what is attractive or what might turn somebody on, especially with the variation of how people are aroused. Some persons are more aroused mentally, emotionally, intellectually. Some persons are aroused just physically. There are depths to it. It's not just about the physicality of the man. It's not just about, oh, she looked good, or oh, he's fine. But it's not just about that. It's literally, how is this person aroused? How does this person like to be loved? I think we take the love part all out of it and just think that it's just two bodies coming back to it. It's just two bodies coming together. It's two souls coming together. It's the two becoming one. It's not just when you put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. It's not just that. It's marriage is actually when you have intercourse. That is how marriage actually works in the spiritual realm. Just letting y'all know. So that's why a lot of persons been married to a lot of people without a ring. And y'all wonder why you feel the type of way and you dealing with depression and anxiety and all sort of stuff when you never had that in your life. Who you combine with matters. I'm gonna say this. Some persons might disagree. Some persons might say, because the comments is open, really. Some persons might disagree and say, oh, but that's never happened to me. But porn also, and this is directly to the men, porn also aids in the objectification or objectifying of women. You no longer see them as human beings. You just see them as an object to fulfill your sexual desires. Again, some person might disagree because it might not happen to them. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Porn lets you think that you're ignoring the female's desire. It's not about the female. It's really about the man fulfilling his desires. It's really about the man releasing. It's really more about the man being in control. All that is pleasurable is for him. Porn, upon becoming an addiction, can become a long-term stressor the more we get into it, because if you're unable to watch it watch it as frequently as you like, you become stressed, you become more irritable because you can't do what you want to do when you want to do it. And this is the thing, this is the deceptive part. What might have started off as just a way of passing time, a way of just ignoring your boredom or coping, you might not feel the effects of it right then and there. However, the more that you watch is, and the more that you get that dopamine hit and you feel good and you feel aroused, what happens is that, just like any drug, your body becomes tolerant of it and you keep looking for your next high. The more that they do it, and every time they get a hit and the body becomes tolerant of it, they increase the dosage until they can get that high again. It's the same thing with porn. You start out, I'll watch it once every 2 months, not getting the hit that you feel. All right, I'll watch it once every 2 weeks, not getting hit, to the point where you start watching it every day. And now, because you're watching it every day, you can't watch the same type of porn. You have to go for a more hardcore version of it, and it keeps growing and growing and growing, and the desire keeps growing more and more, to the point where it disrupts your daily function, your daily activities. And as I mentioned earlier, you start to neglect your responsibilities. You start to neglect certain things because you're trying to get a hit, because you're feeding something that was not supposed to be fed in the first place. So you get more irritable, you get more aggravated because you can't do what you want to do. And if you try to just drop it like a cold turkey, you're going to have horrible withdrawal symptoms. So you're stuck between feeling helpless and wanting to stop because you realize that it's not helping you, or it's actually destroying you, to the point where, like, I don't know if I can stop. And that's the sad reality that a lot of people feel like they can't stop because they've gone too far. To the other point, this was actually interesting for me because I did not think that this could happen. But it's said that in the study that watching porn actually and can cause a loss or dysfunction of being aroused because you no longer feel like you can be aroused by a physical person, a real life person, without watching pornography first. Now, concluding, I'm gonna just read some ways to help or overcome porn addiction according to Relay, which is a website that I was on and I was reading. And disclaimer, yes, saying all of these things, they do help, but there has to be consistency, there has to be vulnerability. And it's not I do it once and I'm gonna be cured. It takes work, okay? So some of the points that I have here is confide in a friend or a loved one. This is where vulnerability comes in. It might be scary. You might feel ashamed because depending on the type of household that you grew up in and the culture you grew up in, you might actually feel like a disappointment, and that's a hard hitter. But you'll also be surprised at the support you may receive depending on the persons that you go to. It's brewing accountability. And you have to have that because if there's no accountability, there's nobody to say, hey, let's not do this. This might trigger you. Or what's she doing? Let's video call. Let's FaceTime. Let's have a phone conversation. Let's go out here. It's helping you to develop that accountability and be like, oh, I can trust this person. And oh, maybe I wasn't even struggling by myself and they could give me some tips as to how to work on it. I can also tell them my triggers. I can tell them what I can't watch, what I can't listen to. If you see me acting this type of way, draw me away, all them type of stuff. Another point is install anti-porn software on your device. Identify your triggers and try to avoid them. It is important that you become aware of self. It's important you understand, okay, what triggers me to want to go and watch it? What makes me arouse? What reminds me of it? Because here's the thing too that we don't talk about. Somebody can stop watching porn for a while, but the images are still in their mind. The sounds are still in their mind. They are replaying scenarios over and over, still getting that hit. So that leads them into the whole masturbation type thing. And they're not watching it. It does not mean that they still aren't being affected by it. Keep a journal. A journal is a way of tracking your history, tracking your progress, seeing what used to affect you frequently versus what doesn't anymore. Stay busy. Get a hobby. Go out with friends. Because here's the thing, porn again draws you into isolation. When you're trying to get out of it, you have to be surrounded by a village. You have to keep yourself busy, whether it is, not sitting alone in front of your computer or phone screen. It is taking a walk. It's scheduling out your day, saying, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that at this time. This is the time I normally watch it. Let me go out with some friends. Let me get a job. I don't know, but keep yourself busy. Have a plan. When an urge is coming, know your plan of action to avoid porn use. So it's all good in theory, but write the vision down and make it plain. Have a plan. If this is supposed to happen, what is my next step and where do I go from here? Exercise. Now listen, as long as I've lived, I've heard exercise does wonders for you. But exercise also keeps your mental health in check. And once your mental health is in check, then your physical self is in check as well. Okay? So, and the last one, which is kind of congruent to the first one, is talk to a therapist. And I had in brackets here, it can be a regular therapist because they're still trained in that department, or it can be a sex therapist. I recently learned about a sex therapist, maybe mid last year. And based on what I've heard, they're really good and they probably can help to go in detail in what it's probably doing to your body, as well as how to not just overcome it, but how to improve maybe your sexual experience, especially if you're married. Yeah, how to experience like a better sexual experience with your partner, as well as how to know yourself, know what arouses your body. Now, I ain't talking about masturbation, child, because that's a whole other story and that's still bad for you. Now, I absolutely could not finish this video without talking to those persons who are currently battling with like a porn addiction, who are currently battling with getting out of it. As a believer, I remember praying a prayer to the Lord, and I said, God, I don't want to be doing something that displeases you. I want you to take the taste out of my mouth completely. I'm asking you to remove the desire, to remove the longing of it. Now, I say that to say this is one way of knowing that the Lord is helping you to overcome a porn addiction. This is one way of the Lord yanking you up is you do it, but you don't feel good about it anymore. And it's not one of condemnation. It's more of, I don't feel happy about this anymore. It's not giving me the buzz it used to give me. You also realize that your body is reacting differently to it, where you might do it. It gives you that pleasure in the moment, but then afterwards you're like, God, it's not worth it. I do believe that when you're asking the Lord to help you in this area, what you realize is that certain things hurt. Like, you'll be doing that act and you'll be enjoying it for the mere for the moment, and after you're finished, some parts of your body, something just don't feel right internally. You feel sick. Your mind is just like conflicted, is packed. Some part of your body is aching. It's like, "Ugh, this is worth it." As well as an easy way to identify too is that your mentality of sex and pornography changes as well, and the Lord starts to reveal certain things that are happening when you continuously partake in such activities. You're opening gates, you're opening doors, you're allowing the enemy to have a foothold until it reaches a point where you no longer feel as though you can be saved. So one way of knowing that the Lord is helping you and is teaching you how to get out of it is, one, he's calling you to be more dependent on him. Two, you don't see this experience as something fantastic anymore. You don't see it as something that, oh, I want to do it all the time. I don't want to do it every day. Because now your heart is aligning with God's heart, and whatever breaks his heart breaks yours. Another way of identifying is that your prayer shifts from how you used to pray about it. So say, for example, you slip up. Instead of you automatically going into condemnation, your prayer immediately changes and be like, God, help me, please forgive me. Another way is you literally feel repulsed by the idea of it. Like, I don't know how to explain that, but you feel repulsed by the idea of it, and you're more open to receiving the love of God and the grace of God, and allowing him to turn your heart away from it. Your spirit becomes more aware when you're either triggered or you are about to do it, or even in the midst of it. Your spirit becomes more aware and you're no longer numb to it. Also, even if you're in the act of doing it, you pray to God and say, God, help me out of this. Help me out of this. And even if you're in the middle of it, you will stop, because it's not by your strength, but it's by God's strength. And I don't want us to underplay how hard it is to come out of something like this, and how much our flesh throws tantrums. How much our flesh throws tantrums and be like, I want to continue. Let me go. Our flesh is a baby, yo. That's why we got to feed our spirit more. But our spirit become more aware to what's happening. And the more that we feed our spirit is the stronger we get. So even if we're in the middle of it, we will stop, because we have allowed God to get a grip on us, to get a grip on not just our body, but our spirit, our soul, our mind. And even if you're in the middle of it, you can pray to the Lord and he will snatch you right up. He will give you the strength, and he will also give you an escape. Let me put it out there for persons who, they normally, obviously, like they masturbate in private or at night or whatever. Sometimes if we just ask the Lord to give us give us the way of escape, make it very plain. Sometimes it will look like don't sleep in this position for right now. If you sleep in this position, you're more likely to engage in it. You're more likely to be aroused. And the Lord will tell you, very straightforward. So, it's also being aware of the escape that the Lord is providing. When we want to overcome certain things, we have to also be prepared for the things that the Lord says no to. We also have to be aware of the things that the Lord says, you got to give this up for right now, for this season. You got to stop hanging around these persons for a bit. It's not always us trying to prove that we're strong that really makes us strong. It is sometimes the things that we have to say we're not going to do right now. We're going to give up right now. We're going to abstain from that really proves our strength. Are we strong enough to yield and submit ourselves to the Lord's nose, to the Lord saying, go left, even if these persons are going right? Are we strong enough to sacrifice the things that we enjoy, even if it's not really having a critical impact on us? But are we strong enough to sacrifice those things just to be obedient to God, to become free? So y'all, that's all I have for today's video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. I hope it was clear, because I was trying to be clear as well and not just hop all over the place. If you'd like for me to do a part 2, let me know in the comments. Hit the like button. Let me know that you enjoy this content and you want to hear more about it. Because I want to say also, as believers, we need to stop being so afraid of talking about the real things, the real life issues. And I ain't gonna lie, It took me a while to be like, God, am I really gonna do this video? Because also it's like you don't want to put yourself out there, because you also don't want the questions, because you also don't want people to look at you away. But guess what? Be a light. Be the light. Be the voice. Be the mouthpiece. That's how I see it. But as believers, we can't be so afraid to talk about the real stuff that are actually happening to people, because if we have the answers, we can't be afraid to share them. We can't be afraid to share our mistakes. We can't be afraid to share the bad experiences that we had. We can't be afraid to talk about the real stuff, because this is what people need, real stuff and real conversation. So I hope this video was good for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, again, hit the thumbs up. It helps to spread the videos. It helps to get more engagement. And if you know somebody who needs to hear some of these stuff, send it to them. Send it to them. Send it to them. Okay. But yeah. So if you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Hit the bell button so you don't miss any further videos. And that's it, y'all. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.